So on my way inside, I came across the high technology of this machine. And actually, I found hidden inside, there's a treasure map. But yeah, it seems I have to take the top off in order to start working my way down. And this module right here, which is this knob, seems to pretty much be the entire brains of the operation. The only other knobs there are this one, which has a few settings, and this one that just turns it on. Well, as it turns out, one of the tricks to get in is that right there, these hidden really long screws. That is what lets this come off. The chamber. So once you open up the computer, and you also get this top part off, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that loosen this whole thing up. And unfortunately, it looks like all these cables are holding it in. Alright, here's the next thing. Well, I took them out, but right here, and the same thing on this other side, there's a screw, same size as the ones on the back that you gotta take out. Oh boy. And that pries this open. Hoping it would just be as simple as popping the back off and looking at the motor, but apparently we gotta tear the whole thing apart. And annoyingly, we got this little switch to disconnect. The Live had a nice thing on it, but these ones we had to pull them off the switch. So as it would appear, the motor right there basically just has this big belt wrapped around the whole thing, and it spins. And this sounds like kind of a flawed design, also a kind of a dumb design. I kind of imagine there'd be like gears or a belt hidden back here, but apparently not. And then it also, out the other side of the crankshaft, has this little fan here just for the lint collector, which of course was absolutely chocked full of clumps of lint. So the chamber just comes out. I loosened up the belt, and this thing seems to be tensioning the belt when it's installed. Here's a heating element. That's not good. So we might have a broken heating element now. So this just sits behind it, this whole heating element thing. And I noticed when our dryer went bad next door back at my house, which is of course a modern dryer, they have like a little square module. But it seems if this goes bad, already you have to tear apart the whole thing. And then you got to deal with, I guess, manually reinstalling them. I'm assuming this has been broken for years, I don't know. Maybe that's why it takes so long to dry things. Well, this motor seems like it's in a pretty good condition, or at least it spins well. Obviously it's disgusting, but you know, it seems to be fine. So I'll bet what the problem was is something was probably rattling around. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the motor is also tired. These need to be closed in order for it to work, because the little door switch. So I think what the issue is that that fan is rubbing up against something. Also, as clearly evident, one of the heating elements is out. Well, there's a little bolt kind of off center in there, and it seemed to be just a tad bit loose. I think that was allowing the blade to fly forward and rub up against the inside of this. So I tightened it, and it seems to be pretty good now. Alright, well here's my little solution. So I cut off the part that broke, and I pulled a bit more through. And I harvested a little piece of metal out of here, wrapped it around here and clamped it as hard as I could. And that's because, see, this thing has a little clamp type mechanism, but I can't reopen it. It's basically permanent, so I have to work around it. May not be a very good connection, but at least if it fails, there shouldn't be anything bad that happens. Okay. Well, it looks like there's... Oh, it's glowing. Well, there's definitely a very bad electrical connection. So I might want to do that a bit better. But at least I know the heating element works. Well, I think I got it. I went and tightened it with a much more heavy-duty tool that seems to be solid. So I suppose I'll let that go. Probably not the best way of doing it, and I have a feeling it'll just break after a few months, but if I could get some use out of this element, at least for a bit longer, that would make it a lot nicer of a machine. Anyway, it's all fine that I got this stuff working, but I wouldn't call it fine and dandy, because the dandy part comes when I actually get everything back together. So there was a little tink noise, and now the element is broken again. Well, I say to heck with it. I don't have the right connector. I'll deal with it in a few years when I have to tear it apart again. Well, I guess at this point in time, we're both fine and dandy. But does it work? I guess so.